This is the International Media Center inside the G7 venue. You can see journalists from all across the world present to try and get details on what will be the big takeaways from this G7 summit, which is happening in Hiroshima. Journalists who are filing stories and perhaps even sending directly. You can see there is the research groups also that are present here. This is Japan, the Hiroshima summit. A historic turning point is what Julia and her team is saying. Julia, hello. You're calling it a historic turning point because of the significance of the city, Julia?
Yes, for sure. I think it was an excellent choice to pick Hiroshima as the host city. First of all, it's Kishida's hometown, which is a personal touch. But of course, what is on everybody's mind is the very real historical event that happened here close to 80 years ago with the nuclear. The nuclear event. So I think that's a very topical issue, obviously, right now, and a great choice.
Yes, and topical because of over 450-day war and continuing between Russia and Ukraine. Do you think Japan, and particularly Prime Minister Kishida, will be able to convince the world leaders to come on a possible roadmap for nuclear disarmament?
I do. I think that they've shown very strong solidarity, and already with certain bilateral meetings that have happened to date, I think that they're really working towards a partnership. And as even with Modi arriving and being here in person, he at the G20 normally, but also here coming with the G7 leaders, showing maybe a little bit of kind of solidarity and an alignment to potentially further that movement of peace and ending the war in Ukraine, and really showing a strong stance against Russia on that.
Yes, and when you bring out research books such as these, you're also part of the G20 research team.
Yes, this is a research institute. I'm based out of London, but there's a headquarters there as well as in Toronto, affiliated with the University of Toronto. And so we do expert research on the G7 and the G20 since the 1980s.
Oh, that's quite. And do you think the message that will come, particularly from the Indian Prime Minister's side, we are the biggest democracy in the world, and he will be unveiling a Gandhi bust?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you mean looking towards the G20?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that is. It's also huge that he's here before, kind of hoping to maybe continue on the momentum for your presidency in September. So I think it's a good movement for sure that he's here in person, and again, now one of the largest democracies in the world. It's very key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Can I?
Yeah, please be our guest.
Sure.
We have official statements that leaders have written for us in this book, including Kishida at the beginning. So feel free to look.
So this is a better future for Japan and the world.
Yeah.
So this
is Kishida's words for us. He wrote this specifically for this book.
Okay.
So yes,
Thank you.
there's other leaders as well in there.
Thank you,
Yes.
Julia.
Thank you.
We'll meet perhaps in Delhi. In just a bit. Let me just finish one part of the interview and I'm going to come to you. Thank you, Julia. Yes, so you can see this International Media Center. There are broadcast that is happening on the top as well. The journalists are going live on the top, right side. Perhaps if the camera can pan and show, yes. The journalists can be seen going live for various broadcasts. Let's try and get more voices of journalists on their expectations of this G7. There is nice arrangement for coffee and tea as well. Some knickknacks that you can see there. Tell us about why Prime Minister Kishida chose Hiroshima for this G7.
I think that Prime Minister Kishida wanted to express his hope to the world without the nuclear weapons, and also he wants to put on emphasis on the non-proliferation and extended nuclear deterrence provided by U.S.
And the visit that will be happening to the Peace Memorial Park. Do you think that optic of it, the big photograph which will be clicked there of all the world leaders, will be certainly very symbolic?
Yeah, I think that the Peace Memorial in Hiroshima has a great power, even for the global leaders. So I think the leaders from around the world will, without no doubt, feel the impact, what happened if the nuclear weapon is used. And I think that I hope the leaders from around the world hope the world without nuclear weapons.
And will there be interaction with the survivors of the atomic bomb as well?
Yeah, I think so. There's the survivors called Hibakusha is hoping also the world without nuclear weapons, and they will interact with the people from around the world.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Japanese premiers in the past have had great equations. Prime Minister Kishida was in New Delhi, where he extended the invitation to Prime Minister Modi to come and participate in this G7 summit. How is India viewed by Japan?
Honestly, I don't know exactly well about that, but it's the Prime Minister will be interested in that. So.
Okay, thank you so much. So you can see, journalists getting, typing their stories and sending as well. So the presence of India here at G7 is not the first time. It has been happening since 2003. India has been invited for the outreach session where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be speaking about food security changes and the challenges vis-a-vis, the challenges particularly in the context of climate as well. But the big optics, as I've been saying, has been and will be the unveiling of the Gandhi bust. You can see journalists present here, a lot of them reading newspapers, trying to get, trying to see if their stories perhaps have appeared in their dailies back home. For the next 48 hours, this entire center will be buzzing with activities as journalists set the agenda in their respective countries, try and send details of what matters to one and all. And I'll continue to track this story very, very closely here in Hiroshima. With video journalist Rajesh Bhardwaj, I'm Maria Shakil.